episode 3. Today we're talking to Janice Rodriguez, who is a producer in Chicago. Janice, tell us a bit about what it's like to produce in the city.
Cool. It's really great, actually. I think it's great because Chicago, obviously, a very, very creative community. I feel like you're always a phone call or a DM away from. I just love saying DMs.
Slipping in
or a
the
LinkedIn, LinkedIn weird message away from somebody who can like probably connect you, hook you up with something, give you a lead on something else. So I love the collaboration part of it. So that's really cool. And you would think maybe other people would think like, oh, Chicago's such a big city. I always say it's like the smallest big city in the world. I feel like everybody knows everybody, or it's like 1 degree, not like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. It's just one. You're 1 degree from everybody. Is there like younger people who watch this? They're like, who's Kevin Bacon? I think my mom likes him. He's
Something
so
about
old.
dancing.
Yeah, the footloose,
Yeah.
the loose feet. Yeah, sorry, I'm a kid of the '80s, but I'm 27. It's hard. So yeah, producing is really cool. I think there's so many creative people, and even like the people who like don't do it, quote unquote full time. Like even I don't do it full time, but just everyone has like a really cool creative side project, and I'm here for it. So that's awesome.
Cool. So you talked about collaboration. In what ways do you find yourself collaborating with other people?
Yeah, I just think like not only on the kind of booking the talent and all that. So I primarily book comedy shows, but just like with, like kind of interacting with photographers, videographers, web design people, DJs because we need for special events, and then also even like the venue people. I mean, I know that's more bar life and nightlife or whatever, but they're creative too. They're always trying to find ways to get people in where they're going as well. So yeah, just being able to reach out, and I just think everyone's usually pretty cool. I mean, I think they can see like what we're doing, and if they kind of agree with the vision, and it's like a way to work things out. But I also obviously strongly believe in paying people for what they do, so that too. But I do just feel like there's a lot more collaboration here. I don't know. I've never done it anywhere else. Don't ask me. I just love Chicago. I love you guys.
Yeah, that makes sense. So do you find yourself working with like a lot of the same people, or do you find that like working with someone leads to another person, and that person has a recommendation and it leads to another person, or how does that work?
Yeah, sometimes I mean, as far as like a couple like favorite photographers that I have that I know, then also, be honest, like some of my shows like we got low budget. But so sometimes if they're like, hey, I'm not, I'm taking corporate gigs now, but hey, this guy's starting out, he wants this, whatever. So like those kind of intros are cool too for people who are maybe just starting out who, want to add to their portfolio. So they're not charging like their full rate. Not yet, but they will, Or some people just really love comedy and they kind of just like, want to be there and want to be a part of it. So they just kind of give me the deep friend discount type of thing. But yeah, I try to work with the same people for that reason. But some people, like I said, they're like, hey, I charge this now, and that's awesome. You should do that, totally. So, but if I can use newer people and just try to get like, again, same thing, this like, I'm gonna use an old school term, Rolodex of people that I kind of work with, because then once in a while that thing pulls through where I'm like, oh, these guys actually have a budget, or like a friend of a friend's like, I need a photographer for this event that has nothing to do with comedy. I'd rather hook them up,
Mm-hmm.
So that's all that schmetworking. I don't know, is that a word? And I was just like, schmetworking. I made that up. Somebody's like, that means something else. Like, oh, I'm like, oh.
No one else can use it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I just think, again, just that whole spirit of collaboration and appreciating other people's, art and what they're doing, but also appreciating their time. And again, understanding that this is what people are doing for a living or as part of their living with their 25 jobs they're putting together, which I appreciate. So yeah, if I can hook people up, that would be awesome. I'd love to.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you've talked about producing all of these different things. You talked about comedy. You talked about, having like DJ stuff and photography. What's your favorite thing to produce, to throw together? What is that?
Well, pretty much my it's the comedy show. So Las Locas Comedy is the like production company, if you will. So that is, a Latina focused comedy collective, if you will. So that started back in 2017, and so that was basically a monthly showcase around Chicago. And at first we were at Karen Marie Salon, that's in Bucktown. It was my friend's salon. So we basically were like let's get some chairs and put them out and put a mic up and have some people do some comedy. I'm like, okay. And then we were there for a long time, left there, did some pop-ups, found a home again at District, which is also Wicker Park. And then also just did some pop-ups. I really wanted to get around Chicago and like get out into like the neighborhoods too. But all that led to, was that 22? God, no, that had to be 21. God, the years. The pandemic. What happened?
It's all 1 year.
Yeah, it's all 1 year. We got an opportunity to produce at Laugh Factory. So we have the first Thursday of the month there, and that started October of 21. So again, these are all just like different, because like depending if you're DIY pop-up style like we used to do, I mean, there's just like a lot of labor. But again, labor of love. It's like I'm literally packing like 30 chairs that I bought off of Amazon, like into the back of my car. My husband's like bringing this DJ thing, and because we need to do our own sound. Like, I mean, it's crazy talk. So, but it's fun. But after a while, like you're like, wow, this is expanding. So I need to get a bigger space, a little bit better production quality, all that good stuff. So that all led to that. But yeah, so the comedy shows, I mean, I'm able to pull in all those people like videographers, photographers, DJs sometimes, and then other different types of artists to actually be on the show. So that's that whole thing.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, as far as like, I had a question and I lost it. I was really excited about it. Oh, okay, no, I remember now.
We're back.
Oh, got it. Okay,
Okay.
wow. So, how do you decide? You talked about how you just wanted to start something. People that want to start things, how do you go about that? How does that feel to just create something and then go for it?
Wow. That's you're making me sound a lot fancier. I always tell people the story. This is like part of my Marvel Comics or DC. I don't know which one would I be. Origin story. Like honestly, Las Locas Comedy came out of a like discussion with my original co-founder Soli Santos, amazing comedian here in Chicago, and like at the time we were she was like a cast member of the Kates, which was another female, like all female identifying kind of collective. And so I was like, well, nobody's doing anything for Latinas, and also I'd like to get booked. So I mean, I tell everybody that honestly. I was like, no shame. I was like, it's like if you build it, they'll come. Like it's just like you kind of have to create your own spaces. So that's I think why there's the longevity of it too. But really, you just kind of are like, oh, we'll do a comedy show. Oh, my friend has a hair salon. He'll let us have it in there. Oh, I'll bring a microphone. Okay, let's make a flyer and put it on social media. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how it starts. And then it kind of just, kind of blew up from there. And through the pandemic, I mean, I've always been like an entrepreneur and had like, I had a completely separate business that went to, during the pandemic. And so that's why this has become more of like the focus. Because I always think about that with people who are creative. I'm like, especially if they're doing it like on the side. Because I mean, it's a big risk, right? It's a big risk to be in a creative career and like, because you're supposed to be creative, but also like manage your own business and do, like there's a lot to it. So I already had like the business side of it. But it's crazy because now you're mixing the business and the thing that like used to be fun.
Yeah.
So that's like a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this isn't fun anymore because now I'm like
stressful.
Yeah. If 50 people don't come, I'm gonna lose my patootie on the. Why am I talking like a grandma from like
you can say
a 70s sitcom? Like I don't know what's like, you're a patootie. Yeah, I'm showing my age here. But yeah, so it's a weird, the producer thing is such. I was just talking about that this morning with actually my co-host of the podcast I work on, Defending Indiana. I'll talk about that more later. But we because she produces shows too, and it's like you kind of get in that trap then, where then you don't maybe not get booked as a comedian as much, or because people are like think you're busy or whatever. Yeah. I don't know, or I'm not putting myself out there enough because I'm not like following up with bookers because I'm like I'm booking my own thing. So it's kind of it's a weird thing. Yeah, it's just so weird. And then creative people, we're always in our heads.
Absolutely.
And we think we suck at everything. I'm like, why do I do this every day? And it's the worst.
It's true.
Like I have a room full of people laughing, and I'm like, I hate everybody. Everybody hates me. I'm never. It's like, I'm like, why do I do this to myself? Yeah. I hate everybody. Why am I here? Why am I here right now? Why are you guys talking to me? I have no value. I have nothing to offer.
Because you're beautiful.
Thank you.
Funny. I'm here for the affirmations.
I know. Thank you. That's all. She's like, you're special. Thank you. Thank you, Taylor. Call me in the morning. Just get me up out of bed. You can do it.
Good morning. You've got this.
See, I had an idea for that. Is there an app that does that? I've talked about this before.
Collaborate?
We're going to collab. Yeah, we're going to get in here. We're going to do, I need some startup seed money. I swear. I think you should just press it and be like, don't give up. Then I think at some point they turned kind of dark. I don't know. See, this is what I think. They gotta be
implying that I was
he really is cheating on you. You're not crazy. He's gaslighting
That's
you.
like when the Alexa gets hacked.
Yeah, exactly. Always he too. Everyone's like, cool. You sound biased. I am. So yeah, I don't know where we're going with those app ideas by Janice. Cool.
Okay, so you talked about some of the challenges that come with producing, maybe getting booked less for other creative things that you want to do. What other challenges do you find with producing, especially Chicago-centric, if there are any? Yeah.
If you live by the lake, no, I'm just joking. I don't know. I don't know if it's Chicago-centric. I mean, I would say, I don't know. I don't mean to sound, I think it's just because I have the business background that I look at everything as a project. And I'm a really good project manager. And I'm sorry, that's so annoying. I'm really good. But I really think of it as okay, task list project, this got to get done by this date, timelines. That's how I think. And so it's challenging in a good way. But those little minutia things, I think a lot of creative people maybe they probably just hate it, right? Because you're oh, this sucks. This is
deadlines.
Yeah, there's administrative stuff and getting back to this person and sending them. That kind of stuff I'm kind of good at. And over the years, I've also been able to create templates. And again, that's called documentation in the project management where I'm such a dork. But you find these ways of doing stuff. And for example, so my second co-producer is Jess Martinez. She just recently left, but that's because she's pursuing all her other stuff, which is awesome too. We were good about that. We finally were okay, we need to get one flyer together. I mean, we do these other individual ones. I love Canva just because it's easy, copy paste, change some colors. But the other one, we did the branding and we kept everything the same. So that's also good for recognition. But those are little things that I'm okay, those things take less time now. Now I can throw the show out, get everybody booked, boom, 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 fill you in, let's go, type of thing. Where I think maybe some people starting off, you don't have all those systems in place and it's harder for you. Or you're still trying to find your identity. We have a proven kind of model, if you will. So I'm a franchise of comedy.
No,
I'm the McDonald's of. No, I'm not. I'm a local shop of 2 burger joints in a tri-state area. Yeah. No, I'm such a dork. Why am I talking? Why am I here? Are you sure you want me here still?
I'm actually very sure. This is a lot of fun.
See, this is where I get into the self-loathing. Hi. Comedians all hate themselves. Did you know that? Thank you. Really.
You're perfect.
Thank you. Writing it down. That's the next one.
So you talked about how you're really able to keep track of all of these things, and it seems like a lot of creative people have trouble with that. Probably. What is your process? Is there a trick to it? How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, as I'm saying, I guess for me, I suppressed all my creativity. I'm let's be all organized. And I'm sorry, maybe that's also probably a negative stereotype, but creative people aren't organized.
I'm not organized.
You're and I'm highly creative. Thank you. No, but and then it's also the whole thing. What does creative mean? It's just you can be a business person and be creative. You could be, there's just a way of thinking and stuff. But I guess in the way I'm saying it is somebody's maybe doing it for a living or doing it for some source of income. But again, that's my capitalistic mind associating everything with money. Bad capitalist. So where was I going with this? Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think today was so much better. There's so much cool tech out there that can help you with stuff. When I was, again, showing my age, it was just Microsoft Word and some Excel sheets.
And the little paperclip.
Yeah, and paper, exactly. He's what do you want to do today? I was write me a template. Yeah. I mean, geez, wow. That was more like college, but thank you. I feel really old now. That was yesterday for you. But no, I mean, I'm just start with the list, but there's all this cool project management software out there. There's Asana and Monday and, ClickUp, and I've used them all because I'm just I still use paper and pen. I don't know. I just think you've got to actually work at it a little. But nobody wants to. I get it. You're I'm over here. I'm drawing this really cool thing, or I'm writing a book. I don't want to worry about this deadline. But when your publisher calls and you're oops, oh, that was 3 weeks ago. Oops. Oops day. Oopsie poopsie. I don't know if people go. I mean, I know some people go. And I work with some really like funny comedians who are like way funnier than me like all day. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I could like just help you like a little bit, because I'm like, I feel like you have so much potential, but there is that organization, that booking part, that marketing part, especially for what we do, that takes up so much time and effort and energy. And it's hard because you're like, okay, I got to take away from maybe writing, or take away from miking or producing, or like maybe, you know, whatever side project you want to do. And so it sucks, but that's the game, kids. I didn't make it up. Or did I? You never know.
Janice has been in control this whole
time. Did you know? That's the original part of my origin story. I control everybody. Yeah. So weird. I wish that'd be awesome. Just for a day.
Just for one. Just to try it.
Just once, yeah.
It'd be stressful though.
Yeah, right. Everyone's like, oh, I have needs. Do you?
Speaking of stress, what a segue.
Me right now. Yeah.
How do you cope with it all? It sounds like you do a lot. What do you do?
I do too much. That's my next t-shirt idea. And for the app, stop doing too much. You were asking me. Sorry. See, I didn't let you finish.
No, it's
Horrible
okay.
person.
I mean, that's it. Like, how do you deal with it all? How do you keep track? How do you in like? I mean, even just being in the city, like that's a lot of stimulus, a lot going on.
Sure.
How do you?
I don't leave my house. Stay unstimulated by sitting in the same place all day. No, you're right. And again, like to go back to like kind of like what I was saying, but for real, for me, if it's not in my calendar, it's not happening. So that's just like one of those things. So even if people tell me, hey, this might not happen, I like put it in there like right away. I know it sounds stupid, but that's what works for me. And I think because there's a lot of things that are always like kind of in the works that might not happen, but I'm just like, doop, color code, Google Calendar, nerd alert, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know, for other people, for me, I do it all at the same time. Some people have a different system where they're like, hey, I'm going to get, first thing in the morning, I'm going to like lay out my day. Some people are like, I'm not going to lay it out ever. I'm just going to like go with the flow. I mean, whatever works for you. I mean, other people can do different things. But I would say at some point, if you're going to turn the creative part into a business, which I know sometimes sucks all the life out of everything. But if you're going to do it, like there has to be some sort of level of organization at that point, and some sort of, you know, process. And then, because I know a lot of creatives who get really bogged down in like billing stuff. I have a lot of friends who are like graphic designers and stuff, and it's just like, okay, well, I didn't have this agreement, because I do social media and digital marketing on the side as well. It's one of my 85 side gigs. But even then, everything was kind of like a handshake and a smile. I'm like, I know better, because in my other business, I always had agreements, and now I'm like, let's get an agreement, let's do this. And so, and I know photographers struggle with that too, but you have to, because it makes sure that, you know, who has the rights to so all that stuff. And it's like, boo, nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, that's the
They're
hard
like, I just
part.
want to shoot, I don't want to, you know. So I get that. But yeah, maybe I should be like the creative whisperer. I'm like, you can get organized. Let me show you how.
That's a different app.
That's a whole different app, right? See, I'm just here. I got ideas, people. Got ideas. But yeah. But I get it. It's not, doesn't come naturally. I'm gonna be honest with you. It kind of comes naturally to me. That's not, you know, humble brag. It's just, you know.
No, it's great.
I don't know. I'm a type A, and I'm trying to get more in touch with the type B though, which is why like I kind of got into comedy in the first place, quite honestly. So, yeah.
Cool.
I'll stop talking now.
Janice, this is very much about you. Like literally about
Please don't stop talking.
You, but
we invited you here to talk nonstop for the next 45 minutes. Thank you.
So kind of to shift a little bit.
Sure.
Producing, what can you say is like the most like memorable thing that you've produced?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the Las Locas comedy is like, that was the monthly showcase, and then we kind of did. And then I decided from like a branding standpoint, like make sure there's like another name for like the Thursday night show at Laugh Factory. So that's Chingona Comedy Hour. And Chingona just like, again, it's about taking power back over words. So it's kind of like Spanish for like badass. And it's one of those things like, just to show you, like, so my mom's from Puerto Rico, so is my dad. Well, my dad's from New York, but New Yorican. I grew up in Indiana. It's a long thing. Come see my comedy if you want to know more. That one where I told her that, she's like, that's a bad word. And it just goes to show, like, generationally. I'm like, not anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Because even with Loca, like, that was the whole thing of, like, you know, again, calling women crazy. Like, I'm like, oh, you do that in Spanish, too. You know what I mean? So it's just about taking, like, power back over words. So I'm trying to think of, like, what was, like, my favorite show so far.
Are there any, like, memorable moments?
Yeah. When that guy's phone went, it's joking.
We talked about that.
Yeah. I was like, we've had weird stuff happen. But I think, I can't think of a like super specific moment. I'll leave and be home and I'll text you guys. I'll be like, can we go back on? But no, a really cool thing is when you see something grow organically, I think.
Yeah.
Like, so just from being at the salon, and then I just being like word of mouth, I'd be like, how did you hear about this? And then starting to kind of see the demographics change. At first it was like all women, it was very, very heavily Latina, but then people started bringing their boyfriends, and people started bringing their moms, and people started and I'm like, and like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like I love everybody, but like the other day, we have a show at Reggie's too, Sabado Night Laughs, and all of a sudden I like see two like white, assume cisgendered guys, and I'm just like, I'm like, how'd you hear about the show? They're like, oh yeah, this is a comedy show, right? I'm like, the right one? And then they didn't know anybody, and they're like, oh yeah, it looked fun. And I'm like, and that was the one we did to celebrate National Latina Day, so it was all Latina lineup. And so I'm like, I really need to like do a survey. Like, how did you find out? Yeah. This is again the dorky marketing mind of mine. I'm like, I need an exit survey. But it's just cool to see that. Like, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, like we're highlighting people that maybe like you're probably not going to see as often because again, we're not getting booked, and it's hard to break into those quote-unquote mainstream spaces. Mm-hmm. So the fact that maybe somebody saw this and, I don't know, maybe they got a free ticket. I have no idea.
I mean, it's a big deal. Like,
but it is a big deal to see that you're
cool.
Like, oh, like we're expanding beyond what you thought was like a niche, which that's the whole point. Like, it's not a niche. Like, it's like we're just comedians out here. Yes, we are of this ethnicity, et cetera, but we're also different too, and it's just like, cool, I'm glad you came because you're not going to see us all together, and then you're not going to see us a lot in probably places where you thought you would see comedy. Like, they're not booking all of us, mm-hmm. and they're not booking us all in the same. So I'm just saying, it might take you years to see all of us.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we're worth it, dang it. So yeah. Why am I doing this all day? This is senior pictures. I don't know.
If we both do it,
like
it's cool.
Is it cool? Yeah. Like there's a billowing
like a
thing in the background.
Or like I played saxophone. So
oh my God, me too. Shut up. But only through like all elementary, middle school, and then just 1 year of band.
You played saxophone in elementary school, so
yeah.
that's random. But
yeah,
was it the same size as you?
Yeah,
alto
I felt
sax?
like it. Yeah. Did you play alto?
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you good though?
I was like pretty good.
Yeah. See,
I was first chair for a second.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, I just couldn't develop a good ear, so I felt like sax is like a jazzy instrument, And I was like, I need sheet music, and so I kind of got discouraged. It probably wasn't the best instrument for me, but it looked cool, and it was way before. Okay, it's like almost same time as like Lisa Simpson. That's how old I am. Actually, I started before she played this. Like it's a person. I think that was like season 3.
Lisa Simpson's like really good at
yeah, I'm like sorry. Yeah, no, I was playing before that. Maybe she followed me. She was like, oh, there's this girl in Indiana who plays the sax at the Catholic school. So stupid. But I still remember. Do you still have your sax?
No.
Yeah. No, I know. I actually gave it to a friend, so like her niece or nephew. I can't remember now. It was just sitting there. I'm like, it's got a dent. I don't know. You have to like recork it. But it was just sitting in the basement. Yeah. I was like, go forth, instrument.
Be free.
Be free, yes.
Where all the good little saxophones
players,
go.
Yeah. Go join a jam band. I don't know where you belong, but at some point, find yourself. Yamaha. I know, I remember my mom spent so much money on that. But cool, good, supportive parents who were like, you're not that talented in this. You should try something else.
Well, now look at you.
That's so sad. Yeah.
You're awesome, and
Thank
you're
you.
here.
See?
You didn't need
you're
the saxophone.
Awesome. You don't need the sax. That's for Wednesday's message on the app.
Good
okay.
morning. You don't need the saxophone.
You're cool anyway. Lisa Simpson did copy you.
So I wanted to ask you about what can you identify like any differences between doing the comedy show like at the hair salon and then doing it at Laugh Factory?
Yeah. Or like any venue.
Oh,
yeah, it was just very like, if it's DIY, then it's like DIY. You're doing everything yourself, like moving chairs and, something like I said, bringing a lot of your own equipment, like literally bringing in your own chairs, and things like that. I mean, you're running the door, you're like doing everything. So, I mean, again, it's cool. I mean, it's fun. You kind of get that vibe of like, oh, it's something special here because we're like, one time we did it like in a warehouse that was like belonged to a friend of mine. I'm like, what? And everyone's just like sitting on pallets. I'm like, I think this is illegal, but like super fun, And it was just cool that people were just sitting around and like wanted to like, here's some cool comedy. I'm like, yeah, So, so yeah, honestly, for me, it's really just like a production ease thing. That being said, Laugh Factory, love you guys, great partner. They're probably like, plug us some more. Amazing people. They have their own, everybody knows Laugh Factory. So they already have their own audience. And we've had people just come up to a show like, hey, I just want to come to a comedy show tonight. It happens to be ours, They weren't there necessarily for like Latina, comedy or all women lineup. I love that too. I love surprising people. I'm like, all women, lock the doors, you can't leave. Because there's, this stupid thing that women aren't funny. And have you guys ever heard that? Yeah. It's
I don't know. I'm laughing.
Absurd.
But I'm a woman, so I guess
right, exactly.
my opinion doesn't matter.
Right. And I'm always like, I always say something stupid like, we're going to talk about our periods now. Like, it's just so dumb. Because I've heard that from people.
Yeah.
Like, oh, every woman I've seen only talks about their period. I'm like, no, that's me every day. Like, I don't need to do it on stage.
Also, men only talk about certain things
Thank
too.
You.
So
yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if we can cuss on the show. But yeah, I feel like, it's a whole segue. You guys are great. But some of you are questionable. Tyler's. That was funny. Actually, my good friend Tyler is a great comedian. I'm sorry, Tyler, not you. There's a few Tylers in comedy. Like, which one is she talking about? No, you guys are awesome. But yeah, no, but that goes back to, again, like, different styles. I mean, that's the thing. There's so many comedians in Chicago. There's so many, like, wannabe comedians. There's so many people just go to mics. Like, good, do your thing. It's okay. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. You're not everybody's. It's cool. Yeah. It's awesome that there's a big enough of a scene that people can really just go mic and be like, I just want to try it. I think that's cool. Yeah.
And I imagine that there's some people that you don't want to be their cup of tea, so.
Yeah, that's true too. Like, yeah, exactly. I'm like, it's fine. Let's just agree to, like, completely disagree ethically on everything. Like, morally, like, why are we here together in the same space? But, no. I would say this. In Chicago, like, if you're problematic, you get weeded out pretty quickly.
Yeah,
like,
that's good.
Yeah. There's, like, definitely, I mean, which can go either way, but yeah, everyone's like, whoa, we're a pretty cool scene of, yeah, it's tough because I've done comedy in, like, Texas and I've seen some people and I'm like, you could never say
Texas,
that in Chicago,
Florida.
bro. like I'm offended. I'm trying to stay loose for you. I always tell people, I'm like, release, your butt, like, relax. This is gonna be kind of,
Mm-hmm.
This is gonna be kind of tense. But, like, when they say stuff, I'm like, whoa, not they. I'm sorry, the certain people I'm thinking of. I'm like, you couldn't do that up here. Like, you could.
I mean, that's good though. That says a lot about Chicago, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And also, because I mean, it's one of those things too with, like, comedy. You're like, you don't want to censor people. Let the audience kind of work it. But there's some things where I'm like, okay, yeah, that's true to a point. But if it's just offensive to be offensive, like, then it's not funny. But you got to remember, the rest of America kind of thinks that's funny. And I'm just like, ugh. So that goes a thing, like, if you want to, again, expand nationally. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent here, but that's the city thing too, because New York will be like the same. Like, Austin, that's the thing with Chicago. Like, you can be great in Chicago, but, like, can you play, like, Lincoln, Nebraska? And again, if you want to be a comedian, you have to be able to play Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how. I don't know anybody in Lincoln, Nebraska. I know somebody in Omaha. Very funny, a female comedian. But who I met in the pandemic. So that was the other good thing about the pandemic. But I digress. But yeah, so you've got to figure out that kind of what that avenue is. But then again, the whole thing's changed. Wow, I'm gonna go tangent.
I'm having so much
You're
fun.
so much fun. So there used to be, like, this old school, like, from what I've learned, and then, like, obviously being a comedy fan all my life, like, there was, like, that old school, like, you gotta hit the road and be a road dog, and, like, you gotta do this random bar in Arkansas in front of a bunch of, like, weird, like the Confederate flags up. I'm like, but you weren't in the I'm so confused. Is that Arkansas? I was like, where you guys were? I don't even remember where we were. So very confused. I think it was a split state, or was that Kansas? Oh, I need to do my history. Okay, anyway, I digress. Point is, like, you're going there, and it's just like you had to do that. That was the road to whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Those roads don't exist, and that doesn't exist anymore. All that, like, gatekeeping doesn't exist. You can just go on TikTok. I mean, I have people I know that did TikTok first, and now they're comedians.
Yeah.
I'll take the quotes away. You're working on it. You're doing it. Or they already have fans. I'm like, go ahead. And I'm like, there's some people who are, like, so mad about that. I'm like, I'm not mad. Do you. Like, good for you. It's not my path is my path, your path is your path. But that's good, because all that was just gatekeeping. You know what I mean? Like, think about for women, like, if you had a kid at home, you can't just, like, hit the road.
Yeah, it's more accessible sort of now.
Ding. That's exactly. Thank you for saying it so much more succinctly than I go on my 55 tangents. imagine if you were Taylor and you had to, I don't know what I'm saying. Oh my God.
I don't know if I would do well in a dive bar in Arkansas, so.
This is what I'm saying. You don't know. But then again, that also being said is like, is that now you have to appeal to that person to quote unquote make it? Like, what does making it mean? What is like getting your voice out there? What does all that mean? And it's just totally different now. It's so different. And I don't even know the old school because I started late. I mean, I started at 37. So I only know the new way. But even then, like since I started comedy, TikTok's come out, like, and that changed the game. You know, then obviously like Reels that started afterwards. Like there's just all these other things happening that are part of it. So because I meet a lot of older comedians, and sometimes the ones who've gone through that, and they're like, well, back in my year, you had to be able to write a joke. And I'm like, dude, you sound like, get off my lawn. I'm like, you're almost like the get off my lawn of comedy. Like you welcome me. So there is definitely like a generational kind of divide for people because they kind of feel like, well, hey, I had to do this to make it. Kind of like that pay your dues generation. I'm like, that sucks. You're being a gatekeeper. Yeah. You're keeping people out. You're acting like everybody's path is the same, or you had it harder, and it's not.
Yeah, the whole uphill both ways.
Both ways thing. I was like, what? Who does this serve? Like, it's not. You're not helping. Yeah. You're not helping. Yeah. So anyway, I could talk about that for hours, and nobody will listen.
I mean,
I will get on my soapbox. Dang it.
Yeah. So, do you think that? Do you find that people are able to, so like people that do comedy in the city, do they often have a presence like online as well, or is it like I only do live shows?
Oh no, that's a good question, but no, I mean you kind of have to. Like I'm really bad about it. Like you were saying, you looked at my Instagram, I was like ooh, and I was just met some people over the weekend, and they knew a little bit about my show because they knew my husband, and I was just like, oh, they're like, where did I see your stuff? And I'm like, ooh, like I have other friends who were like, every couple days they're on TikTok, then they post something else on Reels, and they're like really doing it. And you really have to. I hate saying you have to do something, but I feel like you do.
Best practice.
Yeah, best practice. Do as I say, not as I do. Like, do not follow like me as an example. I really have no excuse, but just again another time thing. So it's like just another time-consuming thing, but you need to do it. Oh my God, what was your original question? This is me drinking too much coffee.
Oh, no, that's okay. What was my original question?
I have no idea.
I was asking about online presences.
Thank you. Sorry, I was like, where were we going? And this is Janice's mind. Boop, boop, boop. No. You have to have both. And what I said earlier, I don't know how you'll edit this, but I think the TikTok thing made it backwards. There's a lot of people that are online and no live. So that's what's kind of interesting. That like I've seen clubs book people like, seen on TikTok. And I'm just like, ooh, what are they doing? So I haven't seen somebody, like I haven't seen that set, but I know like sometimes they just show videos, they talk about their stuff because they really have fans. And then other people are kind of really trying to transition into storytelling or like, or stand up. So, and I'm just like, okay, as long as you respect the art form of stand up. Like I see a lot of people just think they can go and like riff. I'm like, for 20 minutes? What? Are you kidding me? You know how long it took me to get my first 20 minutes? Like, I mean, this is wild. Yeah. So that's what it is. It's like, if you respect it, but you'll get people in, but the problem is when you get booked again. So I know like a couple comedy clubs that will book like those kind of acts like on a Sunday or something, but they'll sell out because I'm like, oh, I don't follow any. I follow like my friends, but I don't have, these people have like fans. So they'll go out. And I know some comedians that like, they were comedians, but they got really famous on TikTok and then were able, did I say TikTok? Sounds like my mom. The ticky-tacky. So they were able to like kind of blend it all together. And one supports the other at some point, right? Yeah. So then if you already have fans, like, hey, come see me. And you're kind of like, it's kind of like weird, like meta. Like you're like, now I'm real. Like I'm coming out of your screen. So that's kind of creepy. But I should do a better job of the online. But there's just people who are like online fans. I don't know if they'll would ever go see a comedy show. I mean, a lot of times I meet people that are like, this is their first comedy show. So I don't know. It's weird. Comedy's weird. I love it, but I hate it. I love that. Like, why are you whispering? And I hate it. No, just I hate it. Right. Don't I know. Everyone's like, fine, you hate it. Book me also. I'm available. My calendar's wide open for September. So yeah, no, it's a function of the marketing of yourself, but it's also. Yeah, it's like marketing and advertising yourself, but also you can online making like really cool videos. Like there's another way to express yourself. Even just doing this, like the podcast, putting up clips, like it's all content now. Yeah. So that's like a whole other job. So I tell people, it really is like a whole other job. Yeah. I do it for companies. Like I do that as a job. So now, like, as a comedian, you have to do that. As an artist, you have to do that. You're like, but I have to do the art thing that I actually do. No, you also have to, like...
You're like also
great.
your own promoter, but also
Literally.
you have to do
You're
the
a social
art.
media manager. Like, no, you're like 85 jobs. Like,
Yeah.
seriously. And I know I'm just like sitting here complaining about it. Like, just shut up and get with it. Get with the times. But so I just respect anybody who's trying to do it. And there's some people who maybe won't quote unquote break through nationally because they don't have a big online presence, but they're super funny and talented. And you can probably see them any night of the week here in Chicago. That's like what's a great thing about the city is like there's probably free or very close to free shows where you can see like amazing comedians that maybe won't ever get an HBO special or Max, whatever we're calling it now. But see,
Max
it used to be
X,
HBO back in my day.
What do they call it now?
Yeah, it used to be Skinamax back in my day. Because they used to show porn, like, like 3 in the morning.
Oh.
It was just me sneaking to watch it. So gross. I have 2 older brothers. That's fine. Sorry, guys. I'm less than you now.
I wanted to ask you, do you feel that the people that are working primarily through like TikTok and Insta and stuff like that, do they have more trouble connecting with their audience or not?
Oh no, I mean,
if
you're a good stand-up, you're a good stand-up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I couldn't say like for the people who are just doing like sketches and stuff, which again, cool, love it. Hey, express yourself. I'm here for it. I'm not a hater. But I don't know how that. Like I said, some of those people I haven't seen too many translated to stand-up where I've seen them live, except for like a really good friend of mine. Shout out to Chona E. Follow her. She's amazing. She's out of San Antonio, Texas, and so we hooked up through my other friend Irma, who's actually going to be here this week, and then she's going to be on the show on the 7th. So, so her background was like acting and stuff, and she was like working in insurance. This was like she got 2 kids at home, married, like started doing like kind of got on TikTok early, started doing a bunch of sketches, and then everyone's like, you should do stand up, and like, but it was an easy like transition because she was already like acting and stuff, it didn't come out of left field. But when we did like our tour in Texas, and she's coming up here for the hopefully for the comedy festival, and we did a whole series of shows here last year, people came up, people followed her, like they're like, oh, I love you, and they knew her only from TikTok originally. So that's cool, you got to be able to do that. So that was like an entry point for her. So it's just really cool to see how people are getting into it now, because it's not necessarily like just the mic way, like because usually it's like go to an open mic, get your first 5 minutes, do this, do this. The steps are all squiggly wiggly for people.
Squiggly wiggly.
Squiggly wiggly. I don't know where I made that from.
I liked it. It was good.
Thank you.
No one else can use that.
Hashtag.
So, talking about the shows, do you? So I kind of like referenced this earlier, but I want to be more specific. Do you find that, at least for like Las Locas, do you have a lot of like returning comedians?
Yeah.
You cycle through a lot of them. Like, how does that work?
We want to be like Latina first, but let's be honest, like even when I first started, there was like 10 Latina comedians and I was one of them, you know what I mean? So we were going to always like cycle through. What's been cool lately is that obviously new faces coming in, being able to like expand and pull people out like from Milwaukee and like Indiana. People are coming through town. So I'll always leave it'll be like 4, and then like I leave the other 2 spaces for other comics of color. It's fine if you're. Sounds horrible. It's fine if you're Caucasian. It's fine. Jesus, please cut that. It's okay.
It's okay.
And my husband's at home like, is it? Thanks. He is Caucasian. Why am I saying this? This is bizarre. If you come to it's fine. I love everybody. But just the whole thing is female identifying. But then I've also left the door open and space for other people, LGBTQ plus that sometimes don't feel like they have a home either. So. I just want to like be as inclusive, as possible. But yes, will you see? I try not to book everybody in the same year, but then when we're booking like the other show that we have Reggie's, and then we're booking a lot of like private events, like I will use a lot of some familiar names. But the key is just that it always challenges them if they're going to be booked on a show again to like come up with new material to, and then also just like the order, and then like not putting the same people on the same show. But it's been great to been able to see people that I kind of booked as like a guest spot 2 years ago, and now they're like, I'm putting them up as headliners, which is great. That's like their normal trajectory. But it's hard because I don't see them like headlining other shows, and I'm like, they should be. So, I mean, I just feel like there's a lot of responsibility I have with the show as far as booking it and making sure I'm giving people a platform that might not always get it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Look at me. Yeah, it is awesome.
You are awesome.
I'm drunk with power. No, I know. It sounds, because I don't make it about me. When I say that out loud, it sounds really like self-serving, and it is a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. It's a little self-serving because I do get a little, but it really is about everybody else. And yeah, I just think there's so. Honestly, the truth is, I love comedy. I love Chicago comedy. I love all the women. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of dudes I love too, but like, I just think they're so funny, and it's just like, dude, if you knew about them, like, it would just it like really energizes me. I was like, so there's just so many people that sometimes I'm like, why didn't you get like this chance? Why didn't you get this? And it goes back to like all kinds of things. It could be they have kids at home, they have this, they have, it's like there's just barriers to entry to comedy that women kind of face a little bit more. So
yeah,
I see you.
Are there? Well, okay. So we're kind of getting low on time. Are there any? So I want to finish on one thing.
Yeah.
Are there any women comedians or or not cis men comedians?
There we go. And I'm always like, wait, how do I write this? When I was like writing the thing, I'm like, just like, yeah. I want to make sure I'm as close as possible.
That you draw inspiration from.
That is a good question, and it's really sad because even the other day, like, because I'm working on the Latina Comedy Festival, and at one point we were like, well, let's do like a national headliner. We have a national headliner here, Gwen Laraca, who's going to be on the show, who's a good friend of mine, but also was on HBO Max before they changed and dropped the HBO
Max.
So she won the Latino Comedy Festival. They call it something else, but anyway, she was on the. There was 2 winners that year. The other one was Ralph Barbosa, who a lot of people know. He's kind of blown up since then. And then Ida Rodriguez directed it. So that was her first directorial debut. So, but when you think about like Latina comedians, a lot of people will say Ida, but some people they still don't know her. Gina Brion, I think, because she had won America's Got Talent, but she was pretty like and Cristela Alonso, Angela Johnson. But like after that, like the names just like drop off unless you're like a really big fan. So that's just like our contemporaries. But yeah, I mean, it's weird. I know it's gonna sound so funny, but I talk to other comedians about this. I try not to watch too much comedy like now. I know that sounds bizarre, because I just feel like when I write something, I'm like, did I hear that? Like, I know it's like it's weird. Like, so I'll wait a minute till things cool down, because I'll see people talking about, did you see so and so special? I'm like, let me wait. Like, let me like, I gotta be in a certain headspace to make sure I'm like, okay. But yeah, I probably should be more of a champion of. Honestly, my favorite comedians are like my friends. Like, I'm being honest. Like Gwen, like Soli Santos, Jasnaira Baez, Deanna Ortiz. She's doing really well. Victoria Vincent, not Latina, but she's been on the show a bunch of times. She's doing a bunch of stuff with JFL. Molly, who's now why am I going blank on her last name? I was always a big fan of hers, and then she moved to LA, and then now she's on SNL. She did our show a couple times. Why am I going blank on her last name? Oh my God, please fill in her last name. But there's just all these people in Chicago that like I saw them like do the work, and then like when they blow up, I'm like, yay, good for you. Like I'm really happy. There's
awesome.
Some awesome women in comedy out here, whether it's stand-up, improv, storytelling. Like, there's just so much talent. Like, it's really cool. Look at me. Oh my God. I love you guys so much. Yeah.
That's really cool. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all of that, everything that you said. It was really, really cool talking to you and getting to know you, Janice. And that wraps up Season 3, Episode 3.